Have you ever found yourself lying awake at night, staring at the ceiling, wondering why sleep just won't come? You're not alone. Millions of Americans face sleep challenges every night, which can significantly impact everything from energy levels to mental clarity. In today's video, we'll explore the science behind sleep problems and share valuable insights from Barbara O'Neill on how to restore restful, rejuvenating sleep. If you've experienced insomnia or felt that your sleep quality is lacking, this video will provide helpful guidance. We'd love to hear about your experiences. What steps have you taken to improve your sleep? Have any methods worked for you? Please share your testimonial in the comments below. If you find this video useful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay connected for more health tips and advice.
So what I'm going to do today, I'm going to show you what happens when you sleep. And there's a tiny little gland in the base of the brain called the pineal gland. And the pineal gland releases 4 hormones every night. And in the winter, they're released between 9 p.m. and 2 a.m. But we've got summertime at the moment, so it's between 10 p.m. and 3 a.m. So what are these hormones and how come they're only released in that time? It's to do with the circadian rhythm. You've heard of the circadian rhythm? And our circadian rhythm is basically set by light and dark signal exposure in the eyes, the moon, the tides. It all has to do with this. Light and dark signals are fed through the optic nerve to a control centre in the brain where the body clock is situated. And the body clock communicates with the pineal gland. And that's why it is released at these times. What are these hormones? One is serotonin. That's your mood hormone. And if the children have a late night, what are they like in the morning? They're not happy chappies, and neither are the parents. Melatonin is called the fix and rejuvenate nighttime hormone. Melatonin is the one that's responsible for the increase in healing, rest, rejuvenation in those hours. Another hormone is Arginine Vasotocin. And Arginine Vasotocin is a hormone that puts us into a deep sleep. And Arginine Vasotocin is our natural painkiller. So if you have pain of any type and you go to bed early, your natural painkiller will kick in. But there's a side effect. Using the natural painkiller, which the body will automatically do if there's pain of any type in the body, using that natural painkiller, there will be a waste from it. So the next night when you go to bed, if that waste hasn't been eliminated, then the pineal gland won't release another dose of Arginine Vasotocin. But if you exercise in the day, if you do that high intensity interval training in the day, you will always get a perspiration built happening, and that's releasing the waste. And that's why exercise in the day is vital in maintenance of pain of any type in the body, because it helps to release your natural painkiller every night. And that also puts you into a deep sleep. The other hormone is Epithalamin. And epithalamin is a hormone that increases learning capacity. If you ask the teachers, can you tell the kids that had a late night? Oh, you can, because they don't, it's almost as if they haven't got the ability to concentrate, retain the information. So you can say, I don't think you got your epithalamin last night. And as you'll find on Saturday morning, or Saturday afternoon at 2 o'clock when we look at the mind, we should be learning new things right up until the day we die. And one of the reasons brains deteriorate is because they stop being challenged and they stop learning new things. So to increase your ability to learn and retain, go to bed early and get your epithalamin. Epithalamin also slows down aging. If you have a look, well, don't have a close look at some of the rock stars from the 60s. From a distance they might have brown hair and they might be slender, but look up close and they have aged incredibly. Why do I mention rock stars? Because what time do rock stars usually go to sleep? Not till incredibly late. I was reading one research paper that said that regular late nights has a similar effect on the body to alcoholism and drug addiction, because it's not allowing the body to revive and recharge every night. There are some things that can stimulate the release of these, and there are some things that can inhibit. And we're going to look at Sustain Me, and I'm going to show you how the basic principles of Sustain Me, these laws of health, how they can influence sleep. Sunshine. How does sunshine affect the release of the pineal gland secretions at night? Well, it's light and dark signals that are fed through the optic nerve that communicate with the pineal gland that help to balance your circadian rhythm. And I first learnt this when it was probably about 4 years ago. I was running a program at Wildwood Health Retreat, and I flew in on, I think it was the Saturday night. I slept, but I hadn't had much sleep on the way. And then I had to consult with 25 people. I was able to consult with about 20 the first day and then the rest the next day. And that night, I didn't get to sleep till 3 a.m. with the jet lag. And what stops sleep is getting annoyed with the fact that you can't sleep. Everyone knows that. So the tendency is to go, this is ridiculous, I've got to sleep, I've got a huge day. Does that put you to sleep? No, that'll never put you to sleep. So the best thing to do if you can't sleep in the night is to lie there and thank God that you can't sleep. Thank you, Father, that I can't sleep. Now I can talk to you. In 1 Thessalonians 5:18, the Bible says, in everything give thanks. For this is the will of God in Christ Jesus concerning you. And also, what I find will stop sleep is getting into the chat room. You know the chat room? Now I'm going to do this, and I'll go over here, and I've got to do this, and I'll put this over there, and I'm going to make it chat, 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 chat. I've got a terrible chat room. I usually have a nap in the afternoon to give me energy for this evening, and the only way I can sleep is to read a book. And as soon as I start to drop off, I quickly put the back down, and I can often escape the chat room. So you've got to get out of the chat room, because if you get in the chat room, you'll never sleep. So how do you get out of the chat room? So I'm a solution person, so my chat room can go to 100 miles an hour. So I have to read, or if I'm awake in the night, I'll start to go through the memory verses. One of the things I love to do is memorise. And probably the largest piece I've memorised is James chapter 1. It's 27 verses. So I'll usually go through that. And then in the morning I think back and I think I got to verse 13. Let no man say when he is tempted, I am tempted of God, for God cannot be tempted with evil, neither tempt ye any man. That's verse 13. So by the morning I'll think, I got to there. That gets me out of the chat room because I've got to concentrate on the next word. One lady said she lies there and she thinks of someone in her life that she always just loved being with. Maybe it was the great aunt, maybe it was a grandmother, and she had the most beautiful garden, and I loved this meal. See that? You're starting to think about that. One lady said, and Adriana Huffington, she wrote a book on the science of sleep, she said, lie there and be thankful. Thank you so much. Thank you so much that I'm not in a Siberian work camp and I've only got a piece of newspaper for a blanket. Thank you so much that I'm in a comfortable bed. Thank. And people say to me, how can you stand being away from home for so long? Do you know what I do? I love where I am. It's a choice. You just love where you are. I love the people that I'm meeting. I'm in a nice room. You're just thankful. It's a powerful thing. That's why God said, in everything give thanks. For this is the will of God in Christ Jesus concerning you. For God knew that it would help your brain if you were to be thankful. So there's some of the things that you can do to get out of the chat room and help yourself get into sleep. My son James said that what he does, he just lies there saying, don't think, don't think, don't think, don't think, don't think, don't think. He said that puts him to sleep. And my son Peter, when he was about 15, he had a theory too. He said, I just stare at my eyelids. He reckons that puts him to sleep. So you can see what I mean. You've got to acknowledge there is a chat room and you've got to get out of that chat room. Whatever it takes. And being thankful stops you being annoyed, because if you get annoyed, you will never sleep. It is hard. It takes discipline. It takes discipline, but you can do it. Remember, you will get better at it. And so this night, when I didn't get to sleep till 3 in the morning, I finally got to sleep and then woke up with a start. It was 7:30 and I was supposed to having breakfast at 7. And then through the day, I was sitting in the consultation room and one of the guests was taking a while. And the sun was coming in the glass windows behind me, but it was open, so it was screened. So I turned around and I just let the sun go on my face. Do you know, that night I slept? And that's when I realised that the best prevention for jet lag I have found, and also to help you sleep in the day, is let your eyes have sun. Now, we can never look at the full sun, but what you can do is you can close your eyes and put your face up towards the sun, and the sun's rays will go through your eyelids and that will go into the pathways and connect with your pineal gland. So that was probably about, 4 or 5 years ago. Ever since then, whenever I travel, I make sure I sit in the sun. And I remember when I had a new grandbaby, I just went outside in the sun with her on my knee. And just being outside, not actually looking at the sun, but just letting the sun touch your face, those rays go in and they reset your body clock. And Dr. Neil Nedley, he found that people who, he found about 80% of people who had depression, their circadian rhythm was out. And we can reset our circadian rhythm by being exposed to the first hour of light in a day. And how many people that get depressed, or who are depressed, go to bed late and get up late, and they miss that first hour of light in a day, and that resets that circadian rhythm. So sunshine in the day helps to reset the circadian rhythm. Use of water. Our pineal gland needs a full hydration to be able to produce and release those hormones at night. Sleep. To get those hormones, we have to be in bed by 9 winter, 10 summer. Now, if you want to be in bed by 9, you've got to start planning for that at 7. Isn't that true? If you want to be in bed by 9, you can't start thinking about it at 5 to 9. So my daughter-in-law, Arana, she likes her 2 little ones, when I was minding them, 4 and 6. She wants them in bed by 6:30. And I found the only way to do it is to start at 4:30. Start winding them down, and you're heading there, you're heading that. And I used to watch the way she did it. And she would give them something light to eat at 5. And then by 5:30, they're in the bath. And then by 6, they're into the bedroom and changing and choosing their books and reading the story. And the blinds are pulled down so it's dark. And they're in bed by 6:30. So you got to do it to you. Start winding down. Start winding down. You got your mind towards you going to bed there. One lady who went to bed at midnight every night, she started to go to bed at 11:30 every night. And a week later, she started to go to bed 11 every night. And then a week later, she went to, can you see what she did? Little by little by little, she trained her body back into sleep. So sleep, trust. One thing that will keep us awake is worry. So trusting in God. And what does God say? He says, in everything, give thanks. But I broke my leg. God says, be thankful. Doesn't mean you have to like it. Thank you, but my leg is broken, Father. I don't like it, I don't understand, but I'm trusting that out of this I'm going to learn some things I would never have learned if I hadn't broken my leg. Abstain. There are some things that will block the release of those hormones. One is caffeine. Caffeine actually stops the release of those hormones for 5 hours. One lady said, does that mean I can drink the coffee in the morning? Well, you're still disrupting your neurotransmitters. Having alcohol at night, it drops the production of those hormones by 41%. And so those stimulants that get you going in the morning, they're actually depriving you of sleep at night, making it even harder to get up and go in the morning. Inhale. A great way to get to sleep is what I mentioned before, 5 seconds in through the nose, hold for 3 seconds and then 5 seconds out. In fact, tonight when you go to bed, try it 10 times. And often, in the morning you'll think back, now how did I get to 8? If you got to 10 and you're still not asleep, do another 10. Because remember what the low sleep breathing does? It stimulates your parasympathetic nervous system. And your parasympathetic nervous system is your peace. It's a calmer. It's a calmer. Nutrition. When we have our largest meal at the end of the day, it's not easy to sleep. Because when we lie down to sleep, our stomach wants to sleep too. Some people say, well, I can't sleep if my body's ravenous hungry. So what you've got to do is if you're a little bit hungry at 6 o'clock, you're going to be ravenous at 9. So if you're got a little bit of hunger at 6 o'clock, have a bowl of soup, have a protein drink, have a banana or an avocado. Just eat something light. And that will prevent that ravenous hunger in the middle of the night. But if you're really hungry, just remember when you're asleep, you don't know what you are. Moderation. Moderation certainly comes into the timing of eating, the timing of sleep. Exercise. Ecclesiastes, I think it's Ecclesiastes 5:12 says, the sleep of a labouring man is sweet. When we're physically exhausted, we sleep better. Many people today are having trouble with sleep because they're not physically exhausted because their bodies have hardly done anything through the day. That's why the high intensity interval training, don't do it before you go to sleep because it'll wake you up. The best time is early in the morning. It was probably about 5 years ago now. No, it was 4 years ago because my little granddaughter was just born and she's just turned 4. I was in Sheffield, London, and the plane was a little delayed, so I always go to the bookshelf, the bookshop I love reading. And I bought a book called Why We Sleep by Dr. Matthew Walker, and this book opened my eyes on sleep. And he quotes a lot of research in this book, and he shows that probably in the 1950s people were beginning to research sleep. And they first of all wired up rats to see how they sleep, and they found that rats did 90-minute cycles through the night. And some cycles, the eyes were moving rapidly. They're asleep, but the eyes are moving rapidly. And what the electrodes showed is that when the eyes were moving rapidly, the brain was very active. And then there were times when the eyes were still and then the brain was relatively still. So they called the rapid time rapid eye movement and the slow time non-rapid eye movement. So let's have a look at what they found happens. So in non-rapid eye movement time, there's a courier system. What's the courier system? At the back, in the base of your brain, there's your hippocampus. And your hippocampus is your short-term memory unit. So everything that's happening through the day has gone into your short-term memory unit. But when you lie down to sleep at night, there's a courier system that takes those memories and takes them up to the cortex, which is the top part of the brain. And that's your long-term storage unit. So that's the courier service. Now that happens in non-rapid eye movement time. The other thing that happens in non-rapid eye movement time is there's a cleaning system. And what they discovered was that it appears at this time the brain cells shrink up a little bit, which allows more fluid to flow in and around the nerve cells, and little cells called glial cells. It's the glymphatic system. These glial cells come and clean up. So what's getting cleaned up in the brain? Waste from neuronal activity, waste from the combustion of oxygen and glucose at the cell, but something else, and that is negative emotions. And on Saturday afternoon, when I look at rewiring the brain, I'll show you how when we forgive people who have ever hurt us in our life and go to bed early, glial cells are stimulated to even clean that up in the brain. It's quite an amazing process. In rapid eye movement time, a filing system happens. What I found interesting is Dr. Matthew Walker is an atheist. And when he studied this filing system of all our memories, he said it's almost as if sleep has an intelligence. This is the atheist. And if I talked to him, I would say, he does, mate. It's called a creator God. Because when the filing of all our memories happens, it's not just haphazard. There's an order. There's an order of how everything's filed. Isn't that incredible? What an amazing brain we have. And this, where dreaming plays a role. It appears that our dreams, and I'm sure you'll agree with me, we have some crazy dreams. You see, while we're sleeping, our reason, intellect and judgment is not active. And that's the part of our brain that sort of controls what we say. But that's asleep, so crazy things are happening in our brain. And it appears that there's a purpose for that. And the purpose for the dreaming is so that the brain knows how to file all the memories of the day. And what they have found is that all the positive things are filed together, the negative things are filed together. Have you noticed whenever you're feeling sad and a few things go wrong, all the wrong things in your life come up? And have you noticed when everything's going just wonderful, all the wonderful things in your life start to come up? In fact, there's a saying that the nerve cells that lie together fire together. You might have heard that saying. Well, the common saying is birds of a feather stick together, and you could almost apply that to the way that the brain files all our memories of the day. It's in the dreaming time and in the filing time, in rapid eye movement time, that a consolidation of all the things that we've learnt through the day is confirmed. See, this is particularly important for students. And I have to tell you, we should ever be students, always learning. It's in rapid eye movement time that our inventions happen. I'm the daughter of an inventor, and I'm the sister of an inventor as well. My father and my brother, they're both inventors. My brother still today is inventing prostheses for medicine. He was the inventor of smart card. My brother's an inventor. And it's in rapid eye movement time where the inventions take place. So let's have a look at how these work together in the night. So they work in shifts, you could say, of 90 minutes. Dr. Matthew Walker, after all the research that he did on sleep, he came to the conclusions that we must have 8 hours sleep a night. 8 hours sleep a night to allow everything that really God designed to happen while we sleep to happen. And so you've got a choice. You can go to bed at 8. Sorry, you can't get to bed at 8 tonight. And wake up at 4. We'll try for 9. Wake up at 5. 9:30, wake up at 5:30. Probably that's my most common. At a stretch, you could get to bed at 10, wake up at 6. So let's go for the 9 to 5 and look at how these work together. So from 9 p.m. to 10:30, that's our first shift of 90 minutes. So in that time, non-rapid eye movement, it takes up 80% of the activity, whereas rapid eye movement, it's fairly dormant at that time, only taking 20%. From 10:30 to 12, midnight, 60% rapid eye movement and 60% non-rapid, 40% rapid. So the next shift is 12 midnight to 1:30. So in that time, it's about 50-50. 50 non-rapid eye movement, 50 rapid eye movement. 1:30 to 3. So 1:30 to 3 a.m., 40% non-rapid and 60% rapid eye movement. And then the last 2 hours, that's 3 to 5, it's 20% non-rapid eye movement and 80% rapid eye movement. They did this on rats. In fact, some of the researchers even did it on their little children, wired them up while they slept. And then, of course, they had a lot of people that volunteered, and so it was quite extensive, the research. And that all started in the 1950s, where they just started to see there were these cycles in the night. So what's happening if someone gets to bed at midnight? And are they getting everything if they go to bed at midnight and get up at 8 a.m? Isn't that 8 hours? Yes, it is. But you're missing out on the pineal gland secretions. And when one goes to bed at midnight, can you see that the cleaning system isn't going to be fulfilled? Can you see that the courier service isn't going to be fulfilled? In fact, a person can wake up and they can still have some of yesterday's memories in their short-term memory unit. Matthew Walker was surprised at the results of the research he did and the research he looked at many other people. And he came to the conclusion, 8 hours. Now, some people have looked at this and felt very discouraged because they're not getting 8 hours. Well, the good news is you can start to plan towards 8 hours. And if you're only getting 5 hours of sleep a night, be very thankful. Be very thankful for those 5 hours, because if you're very thankful for that 5 hours, it relaxes your brain and your body, and you can start working towards getting a little bit more. You start working towards it. When I read this book, I used to get 6 hours sleep a night. I used to think, since I turned 50, I seem to go well on 6 hours sleep a night. But the problem with 6 hours sleep a night is you feel okay. But it's a great deception. In fact, what Dr. Matthew Walker found, that 10 nights of 6 hours sleep a night, 50% less cognitive performance, 50% less physical performance. And how many people blame poor old age?
Can you say that one more time about the percent of just the last two sentences?
10 nights of 6 hours sleep a night, 50% less cognitive performance, 50% less physical performance. Yes?
What about people that work at night?
What about people that work at night? Someone's got to work at night. What about people that work at night? Ideally, if you have to work at night, try and do it as least as possible. In fact, if it's spread out, it can be done as least as possible. And I know with my long flights to Australia, and from Australia to here, I noticed that the flight attendants do shift work. They'll have a few, and the pilots do shift work too. So there is period of times where we're getting sleep, period of times where they're not.